Hello and welcome to a very internal combustion engine edition of The Gas. I'm Gary Gastelou. This is the Gary and Alex Show, the official podcast of American cars and racing, and it is also an all-American show this week with Corvettes, Mustangs, Ram trucks, and Sonys. Sonys? What am I talking about? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. But first, let me introduce my co-host, Alex Nunez. Hello, sir.
Hello, Gary. This is a fun show today.
All right, Alex, we're going to get right to it because we've got some big news today. Chevrolet has a new Corvette model coming in 2027, and it's bringing a new V8 engine to the Corvette family. And with us to talk about it is the Corvette chief engineer himself, Josh Holder. Thanks for joining the show, Josh.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
All right, for the first time in the mid-engine Corvette era, we're getting a Corvette Grand Sport. The Grand Sport, of course, being one of the enthusiast favorite versions of the Corvette. We're going to get into the details of that in a second. But first, let's talk about the engine that's going to power this thing. A new sixth generation V8, 6.7 liters. You're calling it the LS6. Tell us what's new about this motor.
That's right, Gary. We're super excited about this new engine. It's only the sixth time we've done a version of small block since 1955, so it doesn't happen often. And everything about this engine is new. It's, as you said, 6.7 liters. We accomplished that mostly with a stroke increase. And it makes lots of torque, which certainly helps driving performance. And we got a significant power increase as well, 535 horsepower, 520 foot-pounds of torque. Makes for an awesome driving experience. And it's great that we get to bring it out with the Grand Sport. That really is the sweet spot of the lineup. It's a car that a lot of people wait for. It's this approachable performance for a lot of people. But this engine is going to go in the Stingray as well. So it's the most powerful standard engine that we've ever offered in Corvette.
And when you say new, is it 100% new, 95% new? Is it an evolution, or is it really a new engine?
It really is a new engine, much closer to 100% new. We do share the bore center spacing, originally
I should hope so. I know the LS fans need that.
Yeah, 4.4-inch bore spacing, but everything about this engine is new. New block, new heads, revised cooling system, new combustion chamber for efficiency. It's got 13-to-1 compression, which is pretty amazing, enabled by a new fuel system. So we've had port injection, direct injection for a while on our V8s. We've added port fuel injection to go with that system. It helps us with emissions. It helps with combustion stability and allows that massive compression ratio.
Why go bigger? Why not go with a better 6.2 liter?
That's a great question. Our philosophy here to go bigger was actually to help efficiency. It sounds a little odd, but the longer stroke and increased torque along with that compression ratio allow us to operate in four-cylinder modes a little bit longer for a little more authority, a little more duration. And that efficiency gain brought about with a power increase is a formula we're leaning into very hard and always have, and certainly our customers and enthusiasts appreciate the performance increase.
It's funny, a lot of people don't realize that if something's efficient, it's better combustion and it might bring some more power along with it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The technology and the control space, as an example, to go along with the hardware that I've explained, has really enabled some things that even a few years ago would have been unheard of. That much stroke with that much compression on pump fuel would have been very difficult to control and monitor before, but we're again using it to not only help with efficiency, but it helps with emissions. It just makes the engine better overall, more stable overall, and allows for us to push the limits of performance.
Now you're swapping this into the Stingray, but of course updating the suspension and all that to go with it. But let's talk about the Grand Sport. What's the formula for this model?
The formula for Grand Sport is one we've used for a while. So we're going to use the wider tires and wheels off the Z06. So that track width combination and performance tire bring a lot of handling capability, a lot of lateral grip, and comes with the wide body work to cover that package. We take advantage of that body work for cooling and for aerodynamics, but let's face it, a lot of people love the aggressive stance, that wide look. And Grand Sport slots into the lineup very nicely, and especially with the new engine. So you're not just getting a car that looks the part, you're getting a car with a new engine that performs as well as it looks.
Tell me what the differences are between this and the Z06 as far as the suspension and the chassis setup.
The formula for suspension and chassis setup is similar to Z06. And we have a bunch of choices in the Grand Sport lineup. The standard Grand Sport, if you will have ride frequencies very similar to a standard Z06, a little bit softer than a Z06. We want to make it a little more approachable for most people that are going to use it. Not necessarily for every weekend track days like the Z06 was intended, but more for canyon carving, grand touring, the way, let's face it, a lot of people use their Corvette. So that's standard with the Grand Sport. You can option for a performance package, which will bring summer tires to the Grand Sport, along with a revised tuning suspension. So a little stiffer ride frequency. That's a little closer to a standard Z06. And then we offer another choice as well for a track performance package, which brings the carbon ceramic brakes as available hardware and the aerodynamics that we brought out with the Z06, the carbon aero package that provides a little over 700 pounds of downforce.
So even the base version of this is going to be a little sharper than a Stingray.
Yes. Yeah. If you think about the tire wheel package and the unsprung mass associated with that performance, we by definition have to revise the chassis tuning, but we still want to keep the standard Grand Sport approachable and comfortable for a lot of people, and it certainly fits that bill.
Now, along with being the first mid-engine Corvette Grand Sport, you're also rolling out the first Grand Sport X all-wheel drive hybrid, effectively replaces the E-Ray in the Corvette lineup. But tell me, it's different than the E-Ray, though. I know that as far as the performance is concerned.
It is different than the E-Ray. The E-Ray built a foundation for which we are constantly evolving Corvette, especially the electrified hardware in Corvettes. So E-Ray was the pioneer of that system. It's a modular 1.9 kilowatt hour, very small but powerful battery pack nested in the center tunnel of the chassis structure. That battery is unchanged. We're keeping that formula in that package space. In the ZR1X, we increased the usable battery energy. So we increased that by 26%. So that's the bookends for where we'll use energy in the battery. And the more energy we can use out of that battery, the more the voltage goes up. Voltage and current is power. And so in ZR1X, we upgraded the front drive unit to handle that power from 160 horsepower to 186 horsepower. Building off ZR1X, we're bringing that into Grand Sport X. So Grand Sport X gets 186 horsepower on the front axle, the 535 horsepower LS6 in the rear for a combined output of 721 horsepower. It's a significant upgrade and one that customers are really going to love. You still get the all-wheel drive dynamics, of course. You get some stealth mode, the same features that we offer in the E-Ray. In fact, you go a little more stealth range if you want to operate in EV mode. But the real reason people choose this car is the all-wheel drive dynamics. Certainly tons of straight line performance, a lot of grip, 4 feet of contact patch when you add the front axle to the equation. So 0 to 60s are going to be epic. And of course, that driving dynamic of being able to pull out of a turn and the torque immediacy is what we call it. So that instant response underfoot, LS6 already has a lot of torque. The most torque we've ever had in a naturally aspirated V8, 520 foot-pounds of torque. And then you get that front axle to supplement it. It's just an incredible experience.
E-Ray does, I think, 2.5 seconds, 0 to 60, 10.5 quarter mile. I expect this will be significantly quicker, a little quicker. I know you haven't put the numbers out yet.
Yeah, we expect it to be quicker, and we're still working on the final tuning stages of the car, so stay tuned for those numbers. But yeah, with the power output, you can expect some more performance.
All-wheel drive comes in with the acceleration, as you mentioned, even track performance, coming out of corners and all that, the different dynamics, but also it would seem to broaden the appeal to the snowbelt states, especially for the Corvette, which is an infamous summer car. Have you found that with the E-Ray? Are people buying it for that reason, or is it really more about the performance for the customers up till now?
We do have people that use it as an all-weather car, but let's face it, most Corvette customers aren't radically changing their operating behavior. A Corvette's a fun car, it's a pleasure car, and so they tend to use it in that way. But we do have customers using it the way we do. We're based out of Michigan, and we're driving these cars all winter. They're awesome capability for winter driving. In fact, the only thing that really limits an all-wheel drive Corvette in the winter is the height of the car. You get to where you can literally plow snow from the splitter, and when you can't see out of your windshield because the snow's flying over the hood, that's about your only limitation. So we're proud to offer the package that allows customers not to use it maybe as extreme as that example, but to have confidence for a long road trip, maybe early spring or late fall, and you're not sure what the weather's going to be. You might be going over a mountain pass. That all-wheel drive capability certainly gives that kind of confidence to go along with the driving dynamics.
Michigan definitely seems like a great real world testing environment. You must have a pretty big budget for tires and wheels getting busted on potholes up there.
Yeah, the roads aren't great here, but the cars are pretty resilient to even the bad Michigan roads. Michelin has a winter tire that's available to put on those cars for those that really want to drive these in the winter. It turns the Grand Sport X into a snowmobile. It's amazing.
Corvette lineup is pretty vast right now. You got the Stingray that starts just over 70, the 01X that's over 200. Are each of these buyers, Stingray, now Grand Sport, Z06, and obviously ZR1 and ZR1X just because they cost so much more, are they very different customers or are they different levels of, what a Corvette owner would like and can afford?
It's a little bit of both, I would say. Certainly, everyone that buys a Corvette is a fan of the car. ZR1 and ZR1X have brought new customers to Corvette that maybe hadn't considered a Corvette before, given the levels of performance. And we expected and we're hoping for that, which is great for us. The bandwidth you mentioned in the Corvette lineup is super broad. So we have a car for just about everybody. The performance can be tailored to the way our a customer is going to use a Corvette, which is the great part about having this bandwidth in the lineup. So it's not just the price point of the car, but how they plan to use it, the way they want to generate their own personal choice. And, Corvettes, like a lot of sports cars, are generally an expression of the owner's personality. So that brings a reason for purchase as well. The Grand Sport and the Grand Sport X are going to slot nicely in the lineup for those that are looking for that a little boost in performance, maybe don't want to hold out for a ZR1 or a ZR1X and can get something that's a little more attainable and approachable.
The introduction of a Grand Sport usually heralds the coming end of a generation for the Corvette. I know you've shown a couple of potential C9 concepts already. What can fans expect? How many more years does this platform have in it? And more important, how many more variants? I know Tony Roma was talking about that the ZR1X is not the end of the story. Is there a lot more to come from the C8?
I would say for now we're focused on the Grand Sport, which, as you look at Corvette's history, it's been introduced late in the lineup in the life cycle of a generation of Corvette, and that's intentional. We obviously strategize at how cars are going to do in the marketplace and when it's time to refresh a generation of Corvettes, so you can expect that same formula. I won't go into when the next generation of cars is going to come out, but of course we're always working on the next Corvette, and that would be why Tony made those comments. It's hard to say that we're ever done. We're never completely done. We're always tweaking and improving things. But as far as a model lineup, the Grand Sport is going to round out the 8th generation of Corvette for sure.
All right, Josh Holder, past Grand Sports are always my favorite version of the Corvette. I love the balance of it. Can't wait to get our hands on one of these. Thanks so much for joining us today to talk about it.
Thank you, Gary.
So, Alex, you heard it there. That's it. This is the last new edition, last new version of the 8th generation Corvette. I think they've had a pretty good run. Don't know how many more years are left. I'm guessing another 2 years, but it's been a pretty good run for this car.
It's been a great run. I think there's more than 2 years, frankly. I think you'll see this car through the end of the decade before you get a new one. That's just my opinion, and based on some stuff that I can't really corroborate that I have heard, but you'll be able to get this car for, I think a few years.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see some tweaks, maybe a more powerful ZR1X, something like that. But I think the model lineup is now complete.
Oh, it's set. Yeah. And I mean, yes, because we got the refresh. We got the effectively the mid-cycle for C8 was the interior refresh, right? Because
Yep.
that was the big change. So this, like I said, I think this will carry us through. Grand Sport, always awesome, always like best of all worlds. As Corvettes go, like C6 Grand Sport was really good. C7 Grand Sport was great. This sounds like it's awesome. I also think Grand Sport X is a better branding exercise than E-Ray. That's better looking than E-Ray. I know that it effectively E-Ray was a lot of the similar stuff, but I think this is just a better way to take this whole thing forward. And I'm hope to drive this. Super stoked. Again, the standard Grand Sport that I know that Josh mentioned. Oh, they're going to have stuff from '06. You can you make it
Crazy
stiffer.
aero
Yeah,
package.
with the aero package. But the thing about Grand Sport is that it really is the sort of just right mix of power, style, and handling, like is as the ultimate sort of all-around daily driver sort of performance Corvette. This is it.
Yeah, and I think the wide body really makes it stand out. Also with the Grand Sport X, I think these couple of steps above the E-Ray are going to make a big difference. I like the E-Ray a lot. For the money, though, I just don't think it makes a great argument against the Stingray. I mean, you get the all-wheel drive, but like he said, people aren't using these in the winter. The acceleration's better, but I mean, 2.9 seconds is pretty good. I don't need 2.5 seconds. And it's really not a better track car than a Stingray. So, but I think this with the extra power, 721 horsepower, that's a lot. And with the extra chassis tuning, I think this is going to be a more successful hybrid model.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You're like, 2.9 seconds is bad. 2.9 seconds is like a ridiculously quick car. Where everybody is so spoiled by the dumb numbers that EVs have done. In a sense, it's actually great. I love that EVs have effectively made 0 to 60 an irrelevant
Yeah.
stat because it's an interesting number, but it's not everything. Grand Sport is about the all-around experience, and whether you do Grand Sport or Grand Sport X, you'll get all that quickness. That's all table stakes, for Corvettes. But this like sort of all-around package is just so attractive to me.
I can't believe, and I don't know if it's because of COVID and all that, but it's just impossible for me to conceptualize the fact that the Corvette, this generation Corvette, has been on sale for 8 years now. We're entering
Yeah.
its eighth model year. It still seems fresh. It still seems like they just introduced it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old and time seems quicker to me. I'm not sure, but it's hard to grasp the idea that this has been around for 8 years.
No, it is. COVID has that effect. It sort of erases a couple of years in the middle of that stint. You sort of forget what happened. But this platform took a long time to come together. The C8 came later than, people expected. It was, I think, somewhat delayed. But now that it's here, you're seeing exactly what GM can extract out of it. And I think that before this is all said and done, whether it's 2 years from now or, 4 years from now, whatever, however much longer, we've got with this particular, generation, you're still going to see GM squeeze more out of it because the thing that came through in the interview with Josh is like these GM engineers, they love Corvette. Like
Yeah.
it is a passion project for the people that work on it. And that's why it's really interesting because you get a new Corvette, any new generation of Corvette, it's automatically sets itself apart from the previous. So it's already a much better thing. But what they're able to do incrementally through the course of the life cycle is amazing. And I know that, when C8 came out, I had spoken to people who had seen, had been in the design center and everything before it came out. They said, like, yeah, the whole thing is all these sort of landmarks are there. The product cadence is decided well in advance. But they take their time to do it right. And as each variant comes out, it is introducing something that is distinctly different and usually better. that advances the cause. And what you get now is a vehicle that has it's a legitimate sports car that has mass appeal across a I would say this Corvette buyer is like a single demographic, but it's a broad demographic. Like Josh said, ZR1 and ZR1X have clearly brought in some people that maybe didn't consider Corvette before, simply because the performance is so insane. So, I mean, you love to see it. And I love that one of the swan songs almost always with every Corvette generation is not like the ZR1. It is something that is like a step back from that, top end, but in many ways is still the best all around Corvette.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the ninth generation car. Obviously, the eighth generation switching to mid-engine was a seismic shift. I'm just wondering what they can do with that beyond evolving this one. Like, what is the next big thing? And I mean, they've already more or less taken full electric off the table for the time being, just because
Yeah.
they don't think the customer wants it and the tech's there for the Corvette experience. So I'm interested to see what does like why even change? It's a pretty good car now. I'm not even
Well,
sure what they need to do to
well,
take it to
we've
the next
seen
generation.
with what's the concept CX or whatever they're calling, where the one that's in Gran Turismo.
Yeah, and they've got a few that they put out there, some
Yeah, so
styling exercises.
I think what you'll see is something, but I think that stuff hints at where the thinking is, in terms of styling and everything else. They can pretty much do anything from an engineering perspective. The C8 is now demonstrating the lengths to which GM is able to, execute on that end and deliver performance in all different ways, whether you're talking about an all motor, naturally aspirated, engine, turbocharged engines, combination, hybrids, all that stuff. I think you just see the best of that get put into a body that takes the design language forward, an interior that takes that, design, forward. And who knows what else they have up their sleeve. I mean, whatever the next Corvette is, it's well into development anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't know what they're doing. They're always several years, in, whenever we're having this conversation.
This has obviously been selling really well. It's a huge hit, but I do have to throw this one idea at you. How much would it knock people's socks off if the ninth generation car went back to a front engine design? And I bring that up as a possibility only because we've got that Toyota GR GT coming out, which is a supercar like the Corvette. And that's going to be front engine, even though they're going to be racing them as well, and probably should have gone mid engine, but they decided to do a front engine high performance sports car. It would be pretty wild if Chevy tried to pull that.
Uh, I think that something like that makes a lot of sense if you make Corvette its own brand. And that lets you do, a crossover, lets you do a front engine sort of GT, and it lets you keep the mid-engine sports car that acts as the halo for the brand. I mean, what you're describing effectively is what Camaro was. I mean, the problem with the Camaro and the C7, was that they were stepping all over each other. The high end Camaros were stepping all over, C7 Corvettes in terms
Particularly
of
the C,
performance.
the that sixth generation Camaro because it was a lot smaller and
Yeah.
was basically a two-seater.
So it made sense to move Corvette up. There's no Camaro now. So, I mean, if I were the product planner, that's what I would do. I would embrace Corvette as a brand and then use that as the sort of performance North Star for everything, for Chevrolet. And that lets you keep Chevy, mainstream Chevy for, the stuff that, people buy in mass quantity, like the Equinoxes and Tahoes and that kind of stuff.
Corvette and Ford Mustang. There's always been some crossover over the years. It's much different now with the mid-engine Corvette. However, you got the Mustang GTD, which is definitely competing against the ZR1 and the ZR1X on the high performance supercar end of the spectrum. But Ford, interestingly, has been doing a lot with the Mustang on the low end. They've got the Mustang RTR coming out soon. That's a Mustang EcoBoost based car. And now they've introduced a new special edition Mustang EcoBoost. That's a collaboration with motocross and BMX helmet and clothing design outfit, Troy Lee Designs. They've taken the GT front end, put it on the EcoBoost Premium Mustang. They're going to sell it in black with this wild red, orange, purple, and yellow graphics package that looks very 2000s. They're only going to make 550 of these. It's a $3,000 option on top of the EcoBoost Premium, so call it $44,000 out the door. Does the Mustang EcoBoost have the potential to finally become a cool car? And I'm kind of out of touch, particularly with the youths. I'll admit it. I was watching Fast and Furious the other day. I'm like, does this exist at all anymore? Is there a car scene for young people anymore that are into fun, affordable cars and particularly, customizing them, throwing some graphics on there? I'm not sure who this is for, but it's an interesting move by Ford.
I like the move. I like the idea of having these sort of visual packages for performance cars in general. The EcoBoost is a cool car. The EcoBoost is a quick car, fun to drive. This is the sort of fun that you want to see automakers try and have with their performance nameplates in general, in my opinion. Listen, a V8 Mustang is not an inexpensive car anymore. And the high-end EcoBoosts, sort of, fly a little close to that also. I still think, Ford should do something that is roughly equivalent to what the LX Mustangs were, in the 90s, if not 5-liter LX, but find a way to create, a performance package that actually does serve as a sort of a point of entry for the Mustang nameplate that doesn't make you go up to RTR, level or spend an extra $3,000 on an appearance package. I feel like there's a place for that. And EcoBoost is the right place to do it. That car is balanced, it's quick, it's all the things that you want, but you gotta market it.
And Ford's been doing a lot of marketing. It's got the Mustang Racing Series, the Spec Racing Series, just launched one in Australia now. And they brought the cars over to Le Mans last year. Seems like they're finding an audience for the Mustang, and obviously they've pushed it up market. And soon we're gonna have the Dark Horse SC coming out. They won't sell a lot of those, but they make a lot of money selling them because that's going to be $100,000 and up to $170,000 version of the Mustang. But they're clearly committed to keeping this car, the Mustang, alive.
Yeah, well, and Ford Racing is the marketing program for Mustang, effectively. Mustang is the racing nameplate for Ford outside of off-road stuff, where you get various Bronco and or, Raptor things. But yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I think I'm convinced that the Le Mans hypercar and eventual IMSA GTP car will also have some sort of Mustang branding on it too.
Just kind of dawned on me the other day that right now, when you look at the big three legacy American automakers, you got Chevrolet, they've got the sports car segment covered with the Corvette. Ford's got the pony car segment with the Mustang, and Dodge has staked its claim to the muscle car segment with the larger car with the Charger. No direct competition really there at the moment. And I'm wondering when one of them's going to jump and go after somebody else. Heard a rumor, which was mentioned during one of the NASCAR broadcasts recently, that Chevrolet's been showing a new car to its dealers that's going to be eventually replacing the Camaro in NASCAR. No details on what that car might be. My assumption is it's going to be a Chevy based on the Cadillac CT5 platform, which we know is getting refreshed for 2027. And there's no way GM can justify just building that one car in that factory. So there's got to be a Chevy version of it on the way. Whether or not that's a new Camaro two-door or a four-door of some sort, yet to be seen. But I guess that's probably the most likely candidate we're going to see for competition among these vehicles. Now, the question is, Ford sells about 50,000 Mustangs a year. Can somebody come in and sell another 50,000 cars, or does it have to steal Mustang sales? Is there a market for sports cars to grow in the United States, or has it become a zero-sum game? And that's why we found this segmentation amongst the three brands.
I feel like there is room for Chevy to have some sort of sedan that has a performance variant, whether you call it Chevelle or Resurrect Impala or whatever. I feel like there is a there there. There's no cars. So having a car becomes this very interesting thing all of a sudden because that's the shiny object. And honestly, I mean, you need a car to race in NASCAR. So I'm very curious to see what they come up with.
Speaking of the American car brands, this is the 250th anniversary of the United States, which we've discussed before. Chevrolet, a couple of weeks ago, unveiled the Stars and Steel collection of Corvettes and trucks with commemorative appearance packages that it's going to be launching this year. And now Ram's starting to roll out its America 250 edition. Stellantis is actually an official partner of the America 250 organization, and it's going to be putting out models across all of its brands. The Rams were just released. They're going to be doing a Laramie, a Bighorn, and a Rebel. The Bighorn's the coolest. It has denim upholstery with red, white, and blue stitching. Jeep just brought back denim upholstery in the new rock slide editions of the Wrangler and Gladiator. It's been far too long since we've seen denim in a vehicle, and I'm really glad to see Ram and Jeep doing this for us now.
Yeah, it's fun to see. I'm surprised we haven't seen even more, not to say outrageous, but more like sort of visually adventurous America 250 packages. The ones that have come out so far are an acknowledgement with like a tape package, but it's not like the bicentennial 1976, we were in the salad days of like appearance, like tape and stripe packages and
Oh, yeah.
colorful and really interesting. Whereas this is like everything now that today, where it's like, okay, we'll have this sort of flag motif, but it's going to be very muted and understated. But
Yeah,
the
I mean, they're
cars will be
going with
red,
the
white, and blue.
black flag motifs. I don't really get that. And I see people putting those decals on their cars already, but I also see people driving around with custom cars with big, giant red, white, and blue American flags on it. I don't really understand why they wouldn't offer it. I mean, the Corvette Stars and Steel is pretty cool because you can get it white with blue seats and red seat belts. But again, that decal on the hood is a black design, and the same with these Ram America 250 editions. I mean, just the other day, I'm driving behind a Toyota Tacoma, and the person had the American flag decals thrown into the Tacoma, embossed
Yeah, into
lettering,
the
debossed
yes.
lettering in the tailgate. I don't, and I mean, I think these companies even sell those things as accessories. So I'm not sure why the American 250 editions aren't a little more colorful. I'm a little disappointed about that, but I'm glad at least they're on board with this.
Fun stuff. I hope we see some more fun stuff before the year is out.
Unfortunately, we've lost some American cars, American built cars that were supposed to be launching later this year. A couple of weeks ago, Honda canceled its entire lineup of electric vehicles, the Zero Series, the Acura RSX that were going to be built in Ohio. This was they had an electric vehicle hub ready to go, three models, and then many more in the years to come. And they just entirely pulled a plug on this. Kind of surprised that they went that far and didn't just dial it back a little bit. But one of the casualties of this is the startup company Sony Honda Mobility, which is kind of one of the most bizarre things we've seen in the past few years. They've been showing up at CES every year with this car as they've been rolling out the information about it. It was called the Afeela. It was the most generically styled vehicle I think I've seen since Saturn. And the whole idea behind it was we're going to give you this electric car, 300 miles per charge, $90,000, which just seemed like a pretty tremendous entry level price for something that didn't seem that distinctive. But we're going to pack it with entertainment technology. It's going to have PlayStation stuff in it and all sorts of other things. And at some point, it's going to have autonomous driving capability, although when it was going to launch, it was going to have the same level two stuff that everybody has right now. That seemed like it was DOA anyway, but obviously, since it was based on the Honda series, it had to go.
I mean, let's be honest. Who cares? I mean, nobody cares about this going away. I don't know if you saw the Afeela in person. I was at the CES a couple of years ago where, it got driven on stage with the PlayStation controller, supposedly. And then they had a display, and it's exactly what you said. Alarmingly generic styling. Bizarrely so, like no brand identity. Afeela is a bad, really just dumb name for the car. This was the shoe that everybody was waiting to drop, once Honda nuked the zero stuff, which again, nobody's gonna miss any of those cars. Nobody's gonna miss any of these cars because the market didn't exist for them. I mean, $90,000 for the Afeela? Give me a break. I mean, it was something desperately in search of an audience that didn't exist, you know. And then you read these like stories. It's like, oh, people have placed orders. It's like, what people? Like, no, there was no big drive for any of this. These, like many of the EV decisions that were made, were driven by factors that had nothing to do with consumer demand. And we are now putting that era behind us. And the EVs that remain we'll see, you know, if they survive on like traditional just market demand stuff. There's a lot of interesting electric cars out now and on the way. And that Afeela was in no way one of those interesting cars, apart from it being this collaboration.
I think Apple was very smart to dip its toe in this and then say, no, we're not going to do that. No reason to get involved in that. And I still don't understand why this outfit thought they needed to start a whole new company. Why not just collaborate with Honda, put the Sony tech into Honda branded vehicles, Acura branded vehicles? It seemed very bizarre all the way through. But the final product just, again, it didn't look like it had a chance anyway. But now with Honda dropping out, that's the end of story. Although technically Sony Honda Mobility still does exist, so maybe they'll do what I just said, maybe try to work it into an existing car line at some point.
I mean, listen, there's a place for, you know, UX, you know, innovation and things like that. None of that's ever going backwards. If you see it, even it doesn't have to necessarily be electric cars, combustion cars, where you get in and it's a pillar to pillar screen essentially, now, that dictates what the user experience is. So there's always opportunity for stuff like that, but there really was never an opportunity for a bland four-door sedan whose party trick was that you could run Gran Turismo on the grill of the car while it was parked.
Well, we're going to be seeing some new cars next week at the New York Auto Show, which, Alex, believe it or not, there's actually going to be new car reveals at the show. Hyundai, Kia, Subaru, Dodge all have press conferences, and I know there's going to be new car reveals at the show, or at least public debuts for cars that are going to be, revealed in the couple of days before the show. This is actually the most vibrant auto show that I've seen in the past couple of years, it seems like, at least as far as new model reveals is concerned.
Well, at least as far as New York. Well, listen, the Koreans always show up with new product in New York. They have always understood that if nobody else is going to do anything, they can simply own the entire media cycle for the auto show by introducing new vehicles. That won't change. You mentioned Hyundai's got something that is very, very hush hush under wraps that they're going to unveil. But listen, it's smart. The automakers that are going to be at the show should show new product, because the reality is the foot traffic for the New York Auto Show is massive, and it's a great opportunity to put new stuff in front of people who want to look at it and touch it and sit in and all that fun stuff.
Well, we'll be at the show and we'll be bringing you a show from the show. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and we will see you next week from New York. The Gas is a production of A Car Media and American Cars and Racing.com.